The Blast from Our Past Network.
Hey everybody, Corey here.
And it's me, Zach.
We wanted to tell you about our new show called The Coscarelli Factor.
You can find it on our Patreon at patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. The Coscarelli Factor covers every single film that Don Coscarelli has directed. And some other little bonus features in there too, like maybe the music videos he directed as well.
That's right. You can find all the episodes under the Auteur de Force tier on our Patreon page. Like Zach said, that's patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. And if you sign up today, you will get access to the complete Carpenter Factor series, where Zach and I went through every single movie that John Carpenter directed, from Dark Star all the way to, well, all the way till the end. So sign up today to our Patreon page and you can unlock all kinds of other things as well, like ad-free episodes and our monthly wrap-up After Dark show.
Patreon helps keep the lights on in the podcasting After Dark world. It gets pretty dark out there at night, and all your support keeps us from getting too scared.
And thank you to everyone who's signed up to our Patreon page. We really appreciate it. And as always,
we'll catch you on the dark side. Podcasting After Dark presents TV Obscura, a deep dive into underrated and unknown television shows from our youth. Cartoons, sitcoms, cop shows, and much more. Sit back and enjoy some nostalgic fun with TV Obscura.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this month's episode of Podcasting After Dark presents TV Obscura. I'm 1/3 of the TV Obscura team, Corey, a.k.a. Sleazy C. Joined with me, as always, are my two brothers from other mothers, Diallo, the Armageddon Jackson, and Zach, the Total Snackage Schaefer. And
here.
What?
Present.
Here.
Present.
Awesome. Here.
Great. Thanks. That was wonderful. And this month, we're going to just review a movie instead of a couple episodes or a couple different TV shows. And we are reviewing GoBots and the Battle of the Rock Lords. Or is it just called GoBots Battle of the Rock Lords?
Whatever you would like. Rock Lords!
Because nobody else remembers this.
Yep, I don't think so. I don't think most people were going to be like, no, I don't.
So this came out in 1986. And before we jump into this movie here, what are your guys' familiarity with GoBots, Rock Lords in general, or, this movie in general? Zach?
Well, I saw this in the theater when I was 10 years old. I remember going to the theater to see this movie. I was very excited for it. I had the toys, still have the toys. I have got a thruster one downstairs. Yeah.
Whoa.
Ooh, baby. I've got Boulder. I've got Boulder. I've got
a Nugget.
I do have Nugget, and I've got wow, and I've got Magmar. Yeah, I still have the toys, and Bodie's played with them. He's like, "What are these?" I'm like, "Good question." Didn't pay attention to really where their origin story was until I watched this now, and I was like, holy shit, heavens to Murgatroyd. So to quote another Hanna-Barbera.
Keeping it in the Hanna-Barbera family.
Yeah,
trying to.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Tried my personal best. Yeah, no, I haven't seen this movie since because it is utterly impossible to find on a VHS, there's no DVD or Blu-ray. Fortunately, about a year or so ago, Diallo got us hip to this thing called archive.org or whatever the hell it's called. And I found it on there, whether it's a blessing or a curse, depending on Diallo's reaction to said cartoon.
I've been keeping my mouth so quiet the last few days.
You were already a fan of Challenge of the GoBots, right? Did you already watch that before this movie came out?
Yeah, I sure did. I have the books actually too. I've got some GoBots books downstairs because they're like not golden books, but like bigger kind of picture books for kids with a few adventures of the GoBots. And I don't know, I just love all cartoons and I loved all transforming robots. And you know.
Even ones that transformed into rocks and just rolled away.
Well, you know, it wasn't too far off from Masters of the Universe having the same deal.
I know.
There was
I remember
there was a
those guys.
fascination. There was a fascination with rocks for some reason with toy people.
My
you know,
Pet
it
the
reminds
Rock,
me.
remember?
Yeah, it reminds me of John Hurd in Big when his big idea for the toy company is to have a building
I remember.
transforms into a robot.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks is like, what's it do? He's like, it's a building. It's a rock. So anyways, yeah, I don't know why I was like, you know, maybe toy people were like, they can pick up rocks on the ground and think they're GoBots. or from He-Man.
Diallo, same questions to you. Familiarity with this movie and Rock Lords and GoBots in general.
You know, it's so funny because I consider myself pretty plugged into all things pop culture and cartoons, but I think it's sort of like I think Zach has kind of inceptioned this memory of this existing into my brain because I don't remember it coming out. I never saw it. I remember watching GoBots when it first came out, like that. I don't know if it was like kind of like how G.I. Joe and Transformers and Thundercats did it, where it was like a week worth of episodes that made a mini movie or something. And I never watched it again. And so
just like me with this movie.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I'm just talking about the cartoon. I was actually kind of realizing when I was searching for the movie that I didn't realize that the cartoon went on for years after. I just thought it kind of had that first maybe season and then it was just like it was done. But I didn't realize it was on for a few years. But
no, they made 65 episodes of GoBots, of Challenge of the GoBots.
Wow, yeah. So I do actually really love the opening theme. You know, I do like that's one thing about it I like. But anyway, I mean of the Challenge of the GoBots. The Rock Lords, I've never seen it. I knew nothing about it. I thought this was like the origin story of like the GoBots, and it wasn't. And then I realized it was sort of like their version of the Transformers movie where they were introducing new toys, basically.
Yeah.
And I just kind of my impression kind of was like, you know, it was like the Halloween episode of Charlie Brown where it's like, what did you get? And he's like, all I got was a rock. You know? But the other kids are like, I got dinosaur transformers. These are cool, right? And then, but Charlie Brown's like, all I got is a rock. And that's how I feel about GoBots. Anyways, let's continue.
Well, I want to quickly interject too and take everybody back to about a month ago, or less than that before we recorded this. Diallo and I were on our way to a concert. And it's quiet in the car. We're listening to some music, and suddenly Diallo goes, "So, was that your idea to choose the GoBots Rock Lord movie?" Silence. My response, yeah. Diallo's response, cool.
I was surprised you didn't throw me under the bus. Just say, no, it's Corey. Corey did.
I was so annoyed watching this. I was so,
hold on.
Hold on. What's your familiarity, Corey?
Don't worry, we'll have plenty of time for a hot take.
No, I'm not even about the movie. I was like mad at you guys.
I know.
I was like, what they make me watch this? I gotta watch
As The Rock says, you're welcome, and everyone hates The Rock.
Kind of like Diallo. I only knew about this from like just the name of it. I don't know if I ever saw it. Nothing like was familiar to me when I was watching it, other than the fact that like I knew who the Rock Lords were. Obviously, the only toy I had was Tombstone. That was the green one with the long neck.
Cool.
And I played with them sometimes, you know. And as far as GoBots go, like I had a Psykill toy, but I had the oversized one. It was like bigger than the regular sort of Matchbox sort of
they were
size.
like they were die-cast metal too, right?
It was really awesome. So I always loved my Psykill toy. So I don't really have any familiarity with this movie other than just knowing that it existed. I know so little about the Rock Lords property that I was even texting Zach. I was like, I'm not finding like a Rock Lords cartoon
did one even exist? And you're like, no, not really, or at least not over here. So it was just Challenge of the GoBots in '85, and then this movie, and then that was it. And then as far as Rock Lords go, that was it, right? Was just this movie here in animated form.
So there's a Japanese. This is all based on a Japanese cartoon called Machine Robo, and Machine Robo was really big in Japan. I think they came out actually before Transformers. I think Transformers is a little is based on it as well, but Hanna-Barbera jumped on it first and got the licensing or whatever. There are characters now, like there's a modern Leader One that fully transforms. He's really badass. It actually looks very similar to the Maverick jet that came out from Transformers, but it's Leader One, and he looks kind of like the one in the cartoon, but a little like a mashup between the one in the cartoon and the actual figure, because that was the problem with the toy line. They just didn't really match what they look like in the cartoon, whereas Transformers looked a little closer to what they look like in the cartoon, a little bit more.
I actually think that's the opposite. I think the GoBots in robot form look much more akin to their toy counterparts than Transformers ever did. And for better or worse, because a lot of the, in this, a lot of the movements that they have are kind of a little bit stiff, because I do think they did a good job of mirroring the toys themselves. And that was always one of the problems I had with Transformers as a kid. Guys and gals, I'm not going to lie to you, I wasn't the biggest Transformers fan. Probably my favorite Transformers thing is Transformers the movie. But I didn't own a lot of Transformers as a kid because I kind of didn't think, first off, I didn't think they looked like their cartoon counterpart, and two, I didn't like how they were all in different scale. But I do love the fact of what you're saying, Zach, too, with Leader One now. I do love the fact that technology has caught up, and we can literally have Transformers now that transform. They look exactly like the vehicle they're supposed to look like, and then they look exactly like the robot that they are supposed to look like from the cartoon.
Yeah, no, I think I echo what you're saying. I agree with you. I think the faces were one of the things that were kind of off. Maybe I don't know. It's been a while since I've looked at the GoBots, but I think you're probably right about that. They definitely looked more boxy. Than the Transformers did. So, but yeah. Anyways, I didn't know. I knew that they were based on an old cartoon, but I didn't know that the Rock Lords apparently carried on as well.
Okay.
If you go into IMDb and their little trivias, it says there was a anime series called Machine Robo: Revenge of Kronos. Apparently, there was some connections with Rock Lords in that.
Okay, interesting. Okay, all right. Well, how about here, man? I can't wait to get to the actual general discussion. So, how about this? I am going to give you guys a little bit of a background on this, and then we will kind of talk about actually some interesting cast and crew in this movie. So,
no doubt,
we'll get into that really quick, and then we're going to eviscerate this movie. GoBots Battle of the Rock Lords was a 1986 animated film based on the GoBots line of toys. It was produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions, also responsible for Challenge of the GoBots television series, more on that in a second, and released in theaters in 1986 by Clubhouse Pictures, the last film the company released. It featured the first appearance of the Rock Lords, who were given their own toy line after the film. So just since it's so connected, I'll just give you a little background on Challenge of the GoBots.
Yeah.
That was an animated series produced by Hanna-Barbera, based on the GoBots toy line, same thing, released by Tonka. The show was first broadcast in syndication in September of 1984. Then the show joined the weekend programming block, The Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera, in September of 1985. It was later rerun on the USA Cartoon Express. A total of 65 episodes were produced. And that's just a Challenge of the GoBots. Now, before we do cast and crew, really quick, I just want to say, I did not know this was made for the theater until I read the wiki on this. And I was just like, after watching it, I was like, oh, this is a TV show. This was made for the theater, guys and gals. Oh, boy. So
that's what I'm saying. I saw it in the theater. I saw it.
I had no
Diallo.
idea.
I saw it at.
Said it.
If for you Bay Area people out there, I saw it at the Meridian Quad in San Jose. Meridian Quad was one time there was a diaper on a seat next to me, and that tells you how the Meridian Quad was.
I meant I didn't know it was until I wrote up this wiki. I heard you say it, but Yeah. Anyways, there's a very big difference between Transformers the movie and GoBots Battle Fuck the Rock Lords. It's a
Yeah, no
massive-
Stan Bush. No Stan Bush.
Yeah, that is one thing. Zach, before we get into the
Almost did a spit take.
the crew. Before we get into the crew, I just want to call out the director, Jeff Siegel, of this movie. He created Exo Squad, which I think we should try to cover.
Oh, that
one
show's
day.
cool.
Yeah, that show is really cool. He worked on the Ed Grimley cartoon, which I fucking loved back in the day.
Oh yeah, me too.
Worked on the Smurfs, worked on Super Friends. So he was in a lot of stuff.
Well, you're that was the writer that you
Oh yeah, sorry,
credited.
that was the writer. I apologize, writer Jeff Siegel. Guys and gals, real quick, we had to postpone this episode by 2 days because Corey threw out his back.
Hold on. I told everyone on the 80s Kids Unite episode that you're going to save that for Patreon. So go to the Wrap Up After
That's
Dark
right.
and encourage people to sign up to Patreon so they can hear your horror story of what happened to your injury. I said you got injured.
Okay. So we had to push this, and I'll tell you guys later, and then I'll tell you what my pick, my mall memory was on the Wrap Up After Dark as well.
Whoa.
So
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Perfect. A
I
little
like that.
tie-in for all the
Yeah.
people listening.
That's
Sign up to
amazing.
patreon.com/podcasting after dark to hear Corey's story.
yeah, and if I get a little weird tonight, just know that I'm on OxyContin right now. So
There you go.
Nice.
Just like Rush
I
Limbaugh.
literally was about to say, you're going to start a right-wing radio show?
Yep, probably.
Look, I got my Oxycontin, and next thing you know, the right wing is the wing to go. So Don Lusk was one of the directors, the one who has an IMDb credit picture. He worked on The Smurfs, Tom and Jerry, Pirates of Dark Water, Johnny's Golden Quest, The Addams Family, Monster in My Pocket.
Whoa.
I mean, like Miracles of Jesus, Bill
boy.
and Ted's
All right.
Excellent Adventure,
Okay.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
The most racist cartoon ever.
Fantastic Max, which is a very underrated cartoon. That's a very cool
Remember
one.
that one, I think.
Add that to the list. The Snorks, better than the
Come
Smurfs.
along with the Snorks.
I like Snorks more than Smurfs.
Yes, Snorks greater than by a million.
Hell yeah.
than the Smurfs.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. On the Versus show that we do,
We'll have
we
to
will
do
be
that.
covering Smurfs versus Snorks.
Hell yeah.
But also the New Adventures of Johnny Quest, which is great. Sky Commanders, which the toys are great, but the cartoon was okay. And he worked on Galtar and Challenge of the GoBots, of course, and like Captain Planet. I mean, the Cool World. You like
Flintstones
God, this guy.
Kids.
Adventures of the Gummy Bears, Flintstone
Pound
Kids,
Puppies.
all dogs go to heaven.
So with
and
such a
Little
pedigree, why did it go wrong? Anyways, we'll
Mermaid. We'll talk about that.
and then Zach, we got some pretty bright stars as far as name talent goes in this.
We could start off the top with Margot Kidder, Roddy McDowall, and Telly Savalas, and Michael Nouri were the voices of the main rock lords. But you got Michael Bell, who is clear, G.I. Joe alum, and you've got Arthur Burkhardt, who played Devastator on the Transformers, and Destro, because I'm like, why does his voice sound familiar? But he's the voice of Turbo. Ike Eisenman, who I think Diallo brought up on the after school specials for, when we did our TV Obscura on after school specials.
Yeah.
Ike Eisenman, also from, Star Trek 2 and Escape to Witch Mountain. He plays Nick.
Yeah. Duffy.
Right,
Was he Duffy
you
Moon? Was that him or?
Yes, yeah, Duffy.
Oh, shoot.
You've got you've got Leslie Spikes. Spites, yeah, you've got Leslie Spites, who plays AJ. She's from One Dark Night. So she's an alum of Podcasting After Dark. You've got BJ Ward, who plays Smallfoot, who of course is Scarlet and Velma.
That's awesome.
The voice of Scarlet is also the voice of Velma from, one of the Scooby-Doo series, not the original series. You've also got Frank Welker, who plays Scooter, and that's like Frank Welker's, that's his wheelhouse, doing that voice.
Oh,
He's done
it's
that voice
Slimer.
for so many characters.
Yeah.
It's Slimer. It's he's done it many times.
Yeah.
But yeah, Slimer's iconic, of course. So anyways, also, and I want to point out, Leader 1 is played by Lou Richards, and if you go, who the hell's Lou Richards? Well, he played Flash Gordon on Defenders of the Earth. Defenders. And he also played Galtar. He played Galtar in the Galtar series, Galtar and the Golden Lance, which is a cool cartoon.
Galtar's been on our to-do list almost since day one of TV Obscura, but it's kind of hard to find as far as, because you can get I think the DVD's kind of expensive or something.
Yeah, it's like it's like 40. It's kind of I agree. It's kind of expensive.
I wanted to call out two people here. Marilyn Lightstone, she plays Crasher, actually one of my favorite GoBots. But she was in Heavy Metal, the movie, from 1981. She played Whore.
I'm sorry. What?
So, pardon me, what was that? She just played Whore. That's what her character was.
That's what she was
Okay,
doing.
just checking.
It was a noun, not a verb.
And lastly, I want to call out Morgan Paul. You saw him in Blade Runner. He's the Blade Runner at the beginning that gets blasted by what's his name? Who gets blasted by Brian James.
Oh, okay. And he plays Matt Hunter in this. So Matt, Nick, and AJ are the reoccurring humans in the show GoBots. And Matt Hunter is the one that you would like to blast with a gun as well, because he's such a dick.
He is.
And I will more on that to come.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Did you guys know that Margot Kidder was Lois Lane in Superman?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is that when she had all her teeth?
Oh.
Wow.
Oh no.
I was gonna say Black Christmas, but
Wow.
Wow.
Way to take my sarcastic joke to
an 11.
well,
Yeah.
and I think all three of us can agree that Margot Kidder, icon; Roddy McDowall, icon; Telly Savalas, icon; Michael Nouri, I wouldn't call him an icon, but he's a very recognizable, well-known actor. All four of those actors, you can't really tell who. Can't really tell it's them because all of their voices are all distorted.
Yeah. Yep.
Substantially.
Yep. And that's a good segue into this movie. Diallo, my man, kick us off in any direction you want to go.
So I had to think about this because I didn't want to be mean talking about this movie.
Thanks.
Because I know Zach. He loves this thing. I
didn't love it, but
and everybody gets to like what they like, right?
yeah, fair.
But if you're gonna ask me,
I'm asking, baby.
I won't
lay it on the table.
If you were watching something and you don't ask me what I think about it, if I think it's terrible, I'm not gonna just start ripping into it because it's all subjective anyway. As opinionated as I am, there's always a kernel in my head about that. It doesn't mean anything. It's mostly just for fun. But if you're going to ask me, I will tell you. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what the purpose of anything was. It felt like when you want McDonald's and mom in the Eddie Murphy skit, and she's like, we have McDonald's at home. It felt like it was it just was half baked. It felt amateur. But that's just how I feel about GoBots in general. I've said this for years, and I know people have their opinions. Some people think that people don't like GoBots just because of Transformers, but I think two things can be true. I think maybe that's the case also, but I also think GoBots is just terrible. It didn't last for a reason. It wasn't it's I like both versions of Voltron, but I know some people that don't like the vehicle one just because they like the lions, but I think the vehicle one's still pretty cool, right?
Oh yeah.
GoBots, they just didn't last because like I've said for years, GoBots had their chance to thrive, but nature selected them for extinction, and so they just didn't make the cut, and they went away, and that's fine. I was trying to be kind while I was watching it, thinking about the things I just said. Because I was like, well, am I really judging it against Transformers? Because I remember when they both came on. And I remember, like I said, I probably watched the GoBots when that first week or whatever. And I recorded it. So I watched that thing over and over and over again. And I thought about it. I was like, if Transformers never came on, would I still like the GoBots? And what came to my mind was that I think that I would have just remembered it as like a quirky little cartoon that I used to watch. Mm-hmm. Not like kind of like a lot of the things that we talk about on the show. Like it's like, oh, I remember that one, whatever. But it's like I kind of like I moved on. That's kind of how I would feel about this, even without Transformers. So I just don't think it just holds up on its own, just for various reasons. Yeah, and and so take the cartoon and then transfer it to this movie, and it's just. I mean, it's ridiculous. When they start, like, they transform to roll away as rocks. I was like, are you kidding me?
And maybe if it was on its own and everyone in the movie were just transforming into rocks and rolling away. But when you have that juxtaposed with characters that can turn into jets in race cars, you're just like, you're kind of like, no.
I'm gonna interject really quickly too, though. We should really give people a sense of like a basic plot of this movie.
The plot is that it sucks and no one should watch it. Zach, please feel free to give everyone the plot of the film.
Well, okay, so it's about this rock planet of these, which we later find out that they're actually humanoid type people who their planet's been destroyed and they've morphed into rocks. They've had babies with rocks, basically, which is kind of the GoBots origin story. They're actually humanoids as well that got morphed with robots, and they
hail from Gobotron, which is not at all a ripoff of Cybertron.
No, not at all.
And didn't the GoBots come out before Transformers though?
Transformers came out in '84, so because they just celebrated their 40th.
Yeah,
But again, I feel like Scott Zillner probably has a better sense of this, but I think the GoBot property was like GoBots or Tonka picked up the property before Transformers did. I think the toys might have been but anyways, the basic plot is these rock people, the rock chick and rock dude Nugget show up. Nugget's the one that's actually a full robot. He's not humanoid, and they go to Gobotron for help because this big lava guy named Magmar, he is controlling these like little scepters, and if he gets all of them, it turns into this big giant power staff. If he gets like all 7 or something. Anyways, they seek their help, but at the same time, Psykill and his crew find out about this power, and they want the power, so they get a jump on the GoBots and get to the planet first and try to take over the power from Magmar, and all hell breaks loose.
Does it?
Well, really? I mean, I will say
they walk for like a good
there's like
45
well, you
minutes.
can tell they do walk for 45 minutes. You're right. You can tell that this came out. When did Transformers the movie come out? I just wanted.
It's 86, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like clearly they're biting off of Transformers across the board. So they got to have their big epic, destruction scene like the opening that Transformers did so beautifully. And what do they do? But they're all rocks. It's like you can destroy rocks. And so Magmar is like he's got this cool axe. He's like chopping people in half, chopping people to pieces, and all these rock people are being obliterated, and then you realize, well, they're actually part human, so it's pretty violent. One scene is pretty violent.
Yeah, that fight was pretty violent.
All things considered. And there's a lava scene. I think that's kind of beautiful, the way the lava looks. I'm like, I thought that technique was cool. So the animation is, it's solid. It's solid animation because it's Hanna-Barbera.
Disagree.
They're going to try.
I disagree.
Well, it's going to be somewhat better than, it's GoBots.
I'm sorry. I gotta be honest. And it's not like not ripping. I actually was, because I have an affection for Hanna-Barbera. As I was watching it, all my Super Friends memories are like wrapped up in that. But I just, I just feel like it was just like a miss on like almost every level.
I don't think it's a miss on every level. I don't think it's that bad. I think for kids, I think this is definitely catered to a younger idiotic audience, but I don't think it's bad, but it's like, I mean, I'm glad it got made.
Well, I think we're like start at a very starting point of everything. The concept itself is so shoehorned. Like the rock guys are coming for the GoBots and then they got to meet, and then it's just like, but I'm just like, why are you rocks though? And why can't you do anything? And why is it being a rock doesn't really protect you from any damage, And
it protected them from the little the
magnoids.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. That was it.
Oh yeah.
That was actually hilarious because that scene, the rock lords are like, "Oh shit, it's the magnoids," and they all transform and all the other robots are like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
Are you gonna help us or not?"
They let them die.
And they don't.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
The movie's like, how long is it? About an hour and 10 minutes or something?
It's an hour and 13 minutes, and I was counting.
Oh, you guys know it exactly.
I was counting.
I paused it like 8 times watching it. I was so bored out of my goddamn mind. I was like, I can't believe it. And to what Zach said earlier, I couldn't recognize Margot Kidder's voice at all. I couldn't recognize Michael Nouri's voice at all. Anybody, Rob, whatever, doesn't matter.
Telly Savalas,
like
Roddy McDowall.
I mean, I looked at the IMDb before I started watching, and I'm like, oh, this is impressive,
Yeah.
But I recognized like more of the GoBots one, but yeah, like all the rock lords, I felt like all their voices were distorted.
Well, and they showed the opening credits, which are kind of cool. They showed them transforming, but it's like a sexy music playing on the background, it's like with the horns and everything, which is kind of weird.
Which it was written by Hoyt Curtin, who did the music for Super Friends and Battle of the Planets. And there were pieces of the music that sounded almost like it was the Super Friends, which it's the same composer,
totally.
But still.
Speaking of sounds, did you all hear the TIE Fighter sounds in it?
Oh,
yes.
I missed that.
This movie, the writers and the director must have had a love for Star Wars because TIE Fighter sounds were used for like the ship battles and stuff. They buried it a little bit in the mix, but I was like, I could still hear it. I became the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme. I was pointing at the screen. Then someone said put a restraining bolt on Solitaire, and a restraining bolt is what you put on droids to keep them in line in Star Wars. Yeah. And then come on, the GoBots coming out of hyperspace into an asteroid field. I mean, like, Jesus Christ, So all of those things, I was like, okay, that's nice. I guess you guys love Star Wars.
Well, and you guys were talking about how this basically is just to sell toys, which let's be honest, everything was, but the end credits are the literal 30-second Rock Lord song that they would play for the Rock Lord toy commercial, which is hilarious. And I'm like, oh, this is a cool song. It's over. And I got to say, and I mentioned that one of the 3 main human characters, Matt, he's a total dick because all he does, he like complains through the whole thing. Well, there's a moment where he's like, yeah, let's go get him, guys. And there's dead silence. Like, okay. And then there's another scene where he's like, I can't be stuck on this planet. I got things to do back home. And like, wow, your quote unquote robot friends are going to get killed, and you could care less. Just the writing is, the writing is crappy. So
it just, to go back to the animation, I felt like it was, cheap or whatever. Cheap's not the word, whatever. It just like the whole thing was bland. Like they were just on this planet and like they were walking and it was just like the landscape was just kind of this, there was nothing interesting to look at basically, and which I think contributed to it being boring, because even if they were walking, if there was like lush backgrounds and it was visually interesting, it might have been a little different, because I think about like Transformers. It's not like Transformers has like a lot, I don't know. Transformers gets pretty silly too, but like when I think of Transformers, I think of like on the Junkion planet, or like some of the scenes they're in jungles and they're in this and that, and it just at least it looks visually interesting. But here it just was like this barren landscape with nothing really, except for I guess the lava. I missed that part.
The lava was cool. But it's a technique that I think that's been done before. But I just like the way it looked, that scene. It's a really ridiculous scene because Scooter like ends up becoming a big part of the story where he's very heroic, and you're like, this guy of all the guys?
Yeah. Well,
Did I miss a part where like they couldn't transform when they were walking, or no? Because
their power was low because they were in that battle, and I think they were all like tired and wounded because what's his name, the red car guy, when
Turbo.
when we finally got the energy, he's like, hey, I'm back, and you can transform and everything. So I'm with you, Diallo. I was confused by that too. I'm like, I didn't fall asleep during it or nothing, but like I was like, why do they not have the ability to transform anymore now?
Yeah,
because it just kind of got lost in the mix or something.
Yeah,
you know,
because like and it was so arbitrary. Whatever the one that was actually the rock dude that was actually a robot, and he made the
Nugget,
made a
yeah.
point
Nugget
of saying,
with his
he made a point of saying, I'm a robot. I was like, why? Like, why are you different? I don't know. Anyway,
well, I also really quick, his little gimmick is that his head cover was always coming down, but the toy did that too, which was really lame because you're like, stay up.
You want it to stay up, yeah. It's almost like they knew that the toy had that defect in it, so they were like, let's just put it into the canon.
Right.
They were like walking in, and he like just tripped or something, and I was just like, this is how I feel about this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, why did you not see that? Like, you know, like.
Well, I mean, like, going back to what you were saying about the animation, Diallo, you're right. It's like, I don't want to say cheap because it does its job, obviously, but you're not, I don't want it to do its job in a movie. I fully expected this to be made for TV, not the theater. Like, just thinking about Transformers the movie, and it only comes out like a couple of years later, and so many dynamic shots of like Hot Rod driving to the ship coming down, and I'm thinking of like Unicron putting his hand on Cybertron and like sort of raking or whatever, all these awesome iconic shots that we have in our head where like the animation was elevated in Transformers the movie. It was like we all understood that like TV show animation was like at a certain level, and I think as kids we all understood that. But when it came to the movie, we all expected it to be a higher quality. And so I was shocked when I found out that this was made for the theater. And I'm like, it doesn't have that quality to it.
Or was it made for the theater, or was it like made and then they were like, let's show it in the theater because they're doing Transformers the movie in the theater. Let's do that too. Like, I mean, it's a question I'm asking. I'm not sure because like even when I think about Batman Mask of the Phantasm, like that was released in theaters, and it still had that Batman style, but it felt elevated. Or even like a few years later, they had the Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, and I just remember it had that same animation, but it was like a little bit better. You know?
Yeah, you guys had just like a little bit more time, you had a little bit more money, a little bit more manpower, and you could just kind of eke out a little bit more quality, and it always comes down to just like more dynamic shots.
Yeah. Well, this might answer that question because, and you said, Corey, like Transformers the movie looked fantastic. G.I. Joe the movie came out in '87, and I think that looked fantastic artistically, compared to this. Transformers the movie came out in August of '86. But GoBots came out in March of '86.
Interesting.
So there was probably, I'm assuming, based on, two Volcano movies, Dante's Peak and Volcano. You got to have the first one come out.
Two
We're
Mummy
going to be
movies,
first.
two water movies, yeah.
And so they were the first to come out the gate. And obviously, they skimped on time, plot, et cetera, animation. They just wanted to get it out.
Yeah,
You're
get
right,
that.
buddy?
It's like a little bit of a money grab.
Just got that out. It's funny though, because you're looking at two properties that, Transformers gets accused all the time of just selling toys to kids, and all it was a vehicle, like G.I. Joe, a vehicle to sell things. Well, all of them were, but there was more thought put into it than this. You're right. Like this, I don't know, like this story is really all over the place, and it's really a shame because the concept is kind of cool. Like, how did I want to see a flashback of, like you did with Cobra Commander turning into the Serpent and like that transfer, like I wanted to see that, you know, I wanted to see how did these guys get to become this and like develop that, but no.
Because in Sectars, remember the opening of Sectars, you actually saw it happen and everything.
Yeah, in the opening. That's cool.
And I just want to comment on what you just said, Hal. And I don't think any of the three of us like agree with people that say, oh, this cartoon has no value because it was just there to sell toys. Because I look at kids nowadays, especially my brother-in-law and my nephew, but like with my nephew, we're you know, showing him movies and he's playing with toys and stuff like that. But he has a friend that all he does is go on VR and then go on like YouTube and that's it. And he just zones out and it's like, it's mind numbing. And I look back and I'm like,
yeah,
I would rather have a childhood of playing with toys, like something physical and everything, than like, I'm glad I didn't spend my entire childhood in front of a TV screen or behind a VR goggles, because I do know if I grew up in nowadays, I would have, because I would have loved to have gone away to that world. But like, I look back on He-Man and G.I. Joe and whatnot, and I'm like, I think they're amazing because you can literally go and continue the adventures that you're having with toys that when I think it works the best when the toys look exactly like the cartoon version and everything like that. And so I think that synergy gets a bad rap, and I think it's actually very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to point out, I actually have Solitaire right here.
Yeah,
I'm holding,
you do.
You know, so you know how cool is that? That you
Yes.
can literally pick up rocks.
You have a Margot Kidder butt plug right there. Poor Diallo.
I never liked. It's funny. I never liked her as Lois Lane, even as a little kid. I was like,
Me
oh,
neither.
like
I
that.
actually,
Yeah.
I think I like her in Black Christmas, but I'm actually with you. I was never a big fan of her as Lois Lane.
Yeah, never like. I mean, you know, she's fine. Like, I'm not like, oh, get away. But I just remember my reaction. He's a
Yeah.
little kid watching that. It's like, I don't like you as Lois Lane. You're not.
But that being said, when I did sort of discover Black Christmas, like in my early 30s or something, I did say, I was like, okay, I see why she was, you know, cast as Lois Lane at the time. I just think,
Yeah.
I think, you know, being a chain smoker just
Yeah.
doesn't help anybody.
Yes,
basically.
yeah.
There's gonna be. This is probably going to piss a lot of people off, but I feel like she's a poor man's Karen Allen. From,
I do.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I always liked Karen Allen more. Always.
Yeah, and as a little kid, I always kind of had them a little bit mixed up in my head.
Me too.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. I just
Yeah.
one had a more of a raspy smoker voice, you know.
Mhm.
Um,
I
but
mean,
anyways,
she didn't get the part, Karen Allen. Maybe she auditioned.
Too many
Yeah.
freckles. Too many freckles.
Yeah.
back to
I
this
like her.
movie.
I like her
What
freckles.
Diallo?
Do we
I
have to
wanna
talk about this
hear-
movie? No, I'm just kidding.
I want to hear. This is gonna be an exercise for you and
Yeah.
me. I want to hear something positive about this. I don't want
No,
to hear
no,
from
no.
Zach, 'cause we already
No,
know.
dude, no,
So
no.
no, from Zach, I'm gonna want to hear what is his least favorite aspect of this whole movie. Diallo, what was your favorite part of this movie? Don't say turning it off, but take this seriously.
Dude, I know, like,
Diallo's like, when I closed out the screen.
no, yeah, like I'm trying not to be like, I don't want to be like a dick about everything.
Be a dick.
But I literally was watching this. I was like, this is not. I couldn't really find anything positive about it. Like, I just couldn't. I was trying. Like I said, I did. As I was watching it, I was spending more time imagining. Like I said, I literally, as I was watching it, I was like, okay, if Transformers never existed and there was just like, so I was trying to find.
You were doing thought exercises
Yeah,
while
yeah.
you were watching it.
Yeah, but like that was my conclusion, not necessarily about the thing, but just sort of like GoBots just kind of like doesn't they like, so they had a mission and Transformers had a mission, right? It's like we gotta make transformable toys. And GoBots just went down the path that just didn't resonate, and that's all it was. Like, without me like crapping on it, it just didn't work, you know. And Transformers did for whatever reason. Like, I do think that the origin for the GoBots actually makes a lot more sense than the Transformers, because the Transformers just being robots to just hanging out for no reasons always kind of bothered me. And the GoBots origin does make more sense, but just, yeah, like there were so many problems with this, just from like, you know, you had the GoBots that were already established, like the good robots, and then the bad robots, Psykill and his group, right? and then they introduced the Rock Lords, and then they were like trying to endear you to the Rock Lords, but you don't know who these people are at all.
Yeah.
And it just like there was a scene with the Margot Kidder one, whatever her name was, Krista, what was it?
Solitaire.
Yeah.
Solitaire.
Where it was like they were just like, oh, like I don't know. It just but then it was like Psykill had to like they still had to get the bad GoBots to be bad, but then have these other bad guys, and then they were trying to do this thing, and it just none of it worked, and it just was people flying and zipping around for no reason for much of it. And I'm actually like
around.
And I'm like I'm not like trying to be funny. like it literally was just like that's what it was. It was just like, let's fly here, let's shoot, and there was really no point to it. But there was like they set it up where they had it was like gotta find the crystal or knife or whatever it was. But the whole thing wasn't really about that. It was until you get to the end, and it's just I don't have anything good to say. I really don't.
And I think it was about Stonehead. I think it was all about getting back to Stonehead or whatever the hell that place was.
Yeah. I thought that. Oh yeah, there you go. I thought that name was clever. So there you go. There you go.
I do want to point out that we didn't mention Psykill's voice. It was Bernard Earhart. He played Cryotech in Visionaries, the cartoon Visionaries.
Cool.
Nice of the magical. Like
what I will say positive about the movie is that one fight scene, I was shocked when Rock Lord people got killed. I was like, oh wow, like one dude like got it through the gut, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that was impressive. That was like literally the only time I popped in the entire movie. I was like, oh, and then I still had like 45 minutes left in it, and I was just like, and it just like all of my life force got sucked away. So but I was impressed by that one fight. I did not understand though what the tumbler was and why people were getting thrown into the tumbler, like that big round thing that they opened up. They put like the first Rock Lord guy that they got his sword from, and then he was like,
literal
shove him into the tumbler. And I was like, okay, like I guess it breaks, it does stuff, but it doesn't do anything. Like, you know, it didn't produce anything. I thought maybe like his life force would come out of it or something, or we'd see his rock pieces fall out. Nothing. So I don't even know if like he dies in the tumbler or not. And was that just like something to sell on the play set or something?
Well,
like
I think they. So I know a bunch of the figures came out, but in that like one of the ships came out for it, but that was it.
What, for Rock Lords or
for Rock Lords specifically? Yeah.
But didn't they have this? Wasn't the Stonehead playset like a real thing?
Oh, was it? I don't know. I mean, look, you know, on 80s Kids Unite, if y'all haven't listened to that episode, it came out right before this or right around the same time as this. No, come after this. It's coming soon. We talked about, you know, going to KB toy stores and getting the super cheap toys. Rock Lords were one of those toys. Rock Lord toys, I remember being really cheap because no one was buying them.
It was they have a prototype unproduced Stonehead playset for Rock Lords.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, look, it's so ridiculous. If you go on eBay now and you look at these things, they're worth a lot more than they were back in the day. So,
and real quick, if they're part rocks and part like sort of humanoid, there's one good Rock Lord that all he's doing is eating rocks all day long. So is he a cannibal?
Yes.
Okay, Zach, tell us what you hate the most about this.
Yeah, it was really slow. It's in the plot is terrible and the pacing is bad. And I'm not disagreeing with anything you guys are saying. I think I just derive joy from knowing that it exists. You know, I was watching it and I'm like, this is bad, but I'm kind of glad it got made. Like there was a time when like there was an audience for this, maybe, which is really funny to think about. You know, I was part of that audience. I think it's really wild that this movie got made. You know, let's make a movie about people that got fused into rocks, and then your mind starts going there as a child, and you probably have nightmares thinking about that. You know, being blended into rocks and like that's the other thing too. They handle it so gingerly. They're like, we had a cataclysmic event that caused our planet to, erode or whatever, and we fused with rock. Like, oh, okay. So little kid's probably like, Mommy, what's that mean? And the parents telling the kid, and the kid's probably gonna have nightmares for the rest of his life.
Yeah, like are we seeing, like, is Boulder, like, is he Gen 1 of the people? Like, was he human at one point? Or, like, is he, like, generational and it's been, like, 100 years and they've evolved into this? Like,
I think he's Gen 1. I think he was riding a bike because he has a bike helmet on.
Yeah, he does.
And he's riding his bike and a boulder fell on him, and the rest is history.
Yeah, okay. So final thoughts on this one, guys. Yeah, I can't recommend it. I loathed every second of it. I was not a fan whatsoever. And which is the irony is because Zach and I are actually going to do a GoBots versus Transformers versus. And I'll just say, I mean, I enjoyed GoBots when I was a kid. I didn't watch a lot of the show as much as Transformers, but I actually always really liked the GoBots. For one of the reasons is the toys looked pretty much exactly like the cartoon, and I thought that was cool. But this, I was just like, why couldn't we have just had a GoBots movie? Like, why does it have to be this convoluted? Now, I'm not saying a GoBots movie on its own would be good or would be better, but like, I'm just like, why did you guys have to do this? Like, and whose idea was it to make something transform into a rock? And then they have to be mobile, so they just roll away. And how is rolling away any faster than them running away?
Dude, when they rolled away,
it's really funny. It's really funny.
And they're not even like perfectly round. They're like weird oblong shape and everything.
You know, a lot of this movie, I just felt like was like decided in a boardroom. That's what I felt a lot.
Yeah.
And so,
or it's art by committee.
Yeah. So like when they were rolling away, I literally was just like, this is like what some exec was like, just have them roll away. We don't care. Let's just, that's how I felt.
That's what kids can do. They can throw them down and they can roll them,
Yeah. It's a building and a robot.
It was, oh man, it was so not good.
Zach, did you show Bodhi at all or no?
Oh no. He's not into this stuff. He's 10 now, so I mean, he's a kid that plays D&D and lives in that world.
Wait, weren't you 10 when you saw this?
Yeah, but the 80s were different, right? Like I don't know. It didn't have the if I had, like you said, Corey, if I had the video games that they have now and had the level of maturity that they have in the video games now, I might not be into this either. I think I was just craving for something. I wanted anything back in the day that was creative, like, well, whether it's not creative, but I was hoping it would be. I was hoping this would be cool. It's a movie that I think if you want to get drunk and laugh your ass off or just pass out, one of those things is going to happen.
Yeah, you definitely get, if you're having trouble sleeping at night, you definitely put this on and go to sleep for sure.
Yeah. Is this the worst thing we've reviewed on TV Obscura? I think it might be.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, beforehand I was like, I don't think I've ever I mean, I might have not liked a few things, but I just wholeheartedly I loathe this. I despise this.
Dude, same boat, man. Like, I was watching it and I was like, okay, I mean, I don't, and that's we kind of don't just hardcore shit on things on this show. We don't do that snarky thing. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to pick some positives from this. And I'm just like, I can't. I loathe it.
I loathe it. Because, again, I was trying to think about, because there's things that I like from the past that other people could look at them and be like, oh, this is cheesy, this is terrible. It's like Shazam and ISIS, right? Like, if you watch that now, you had never seen it, I could see how you would be like, oh, this is terrible, but and so I have a connection to it. So I was thinking maybe it's that I don't have a connection to it and I'm already kind of predisposed to not liking the GoBots. I do think for different reasons than some people don't like it. I just think it just never. It was just like inferior. It just didn't. It just. It's why nobody really knows it, but they make a billion Transformers movies. Like I said, they, nature selected them for extinction. So, but I kept thinking about that. I was like, am I just predisposed to not liking it? And like, but as I kept watching it, like, it just was like, no, this is just like really bad. It's just really bad. And, but then I'm like, well, Zach likes it. And he watched it, and like you said, you watched it in the theater, so like maybe it's just that I didn't watch it as a kid, so I have no connection at all. I don't know. But then I watched other things that I never saw before, and I'm like, I don't know. Let's.
It never. There's not a lot of substance, but there was never substance with the GoBots. They were just kind of like Psykill, Turbo. It was very. The Optimus Prime is a very thought out name,
but I like that first. They're like those first few, like, because I remember I watched the first, like, that first little movie or whatever, GoBots, and I like Leader One's cool enough. Turbo, I remember him. I thought he was cool. Psykill's kind of cool. That black car that's like, is it a woman? I think.
Yeah, Crasher. Yeah, she is. Yeah,
and then
I like her colors.
The colors, and but then I think the thing that kind of like soured me on the line was my brother had the I think it was a Porsche, and it was like it's like the head is like
is the cab, the windows,
and I was like, what is this?
I have that toy too,
and it like stands on like kind of stilts, like, and I was just like, this is terrible. But yeah, I thought that first line, I mean, they look cool, but there's just something about it for me that just it didn't pop, and that's why I said I feel like it's sort of like this was created in a boardroom, and it just like, for whatever reason, because like you've seen the story about G.I. Joe, it's not like there was like massive creativity when it came to like the figures of G.I. Joe. A lot of them were just created because they had like a mold, right? Like Snake Eyes wasn't like this well thought out thing. It was like, oh, we've made all the other ones, let's just put one without any decoration on it, and for whatever, So it's just, I don't know. There's like a secret sauce to Transformers, and I just feel like it just wasn't there for this property. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if Tonka wants to make, a cartoon, do one with the Steel Monsters. Remember those old Road Warrior style toys that Tonka made back in the 80s? I love those things. But then Diallo, to your point, like, I do love, like I said, I like a lot of the GoBots, and I think their design is cool, but then you put them next to like the Rock Lords, and you're like, well, these guys look stupid. Yeah. And then I almost wish we, like I said, if we had just a GoBots movie, sure, or just a Rock Lords movie, and then we could just kind of get more entrenched in that world. But I don't know. I think the designs already inherently are flawed to begin with.
Yeah. It was like, what are we doing here? When I was seeing that, when they turn into rocks, I was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
No, I get it.
I will say maybe my least favorite thing about the movie was the sound that they make when they transform, because it sounds like grinding teeth.
Yeah. I mean, we're all waiting for the, but they can't do that because it would be a ripoff. So, rocks. Yeah, well, either of them or the GoBots, and then, nothing happens. And then, Zach, to your point, I had that He-Man rock guy. Remember him? I think there's a girl too as well.
Yeah, there was two of them. Rock On and
Rock Off.
I forget the other one. Yeah, something like that. They got obliterated in the new cartoon.
Yeah, they did.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
But which was a bummer. But yeah, no, I mean, there was like a fascination with rocks. Look, that movie Big doesn't seem to be too far off as far as boardroom meetings with toys. They're kind of clueless idiots. So they should have taken cues from kids.
It makes me think of like the Transformers had like various sidelines of figures, right? Like, they had the dinosaurs, whatever they're called, Constructicon. Like they had all these different, and then but then they had like the Headmasters. Remember, which I actually I actually never liked that, but they always had like these things. So it's like, on one hand, it's not crazy to have this line of like rock like lords. It's just sort of like they just turned into rocks.
Yeah. And then tried to like fight a jet. And it's like, well, that doesn't really work.
It would be
clearly like one side was clearly much more advanced than the other side.
Yeah, and it's like there wasn't a lot of like. It's like maybe they turn into rocks, but they like can cause earthquakes or move, like shake. You know,
Yeah,
it was just like, they just turn into rocks and roll and rock and roll. And
rock and roll, baby. Yeah, that's pretty much. Pretty much it.
So that's the last. I'm not gonna harp on it. It's like it exists, and I always give credit to the creative team for they all got paid and did their thing, and
right.
It's always easier to create than it is to critique. So
it's easier to critique than it is to create, right?
Yes, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's easier to critique than it is to create. Creating, no matter how terrible you think something is, it's way harder to think of something out of nothing than it is to come after the fact and just be like, this was terrible. It's like, well,
it's like, well, what have you done? What have you created? No, I get it. I totally get that. So, all right. Well, Zach, was that it? Are you done?
Oh, I got nothing else.
Me neither. I did not have a lot of notes. My notes were all about the Star Wars shit that I sort of noticed. Okay. Well, this was TV Obscura and GoBots and the Battle of the Rock Lords. Woo! This will be our most
listened to episode.
Probably.
Because people love to hear people complain.
Well, I just can't wait for the first person when I post like the on Instagram. There's gonna be the first person that says, "Oh, I love this movie. I can't wait to hear you guys talk about it."
I guarantee you, even the people like me who
love everything,
find a little bit of joy in stuff like this. Yeah, they're gonna agree. They're gonna be like, it could have been better, but what are you gonna do? Where's the Sectar movie? How come that never got made?
Exactly. So, Diallo, anything going on we want to plug right now at the moment?
No, I'm just trying to make my way through life right now.
You're just simple man trying to make your way in the universe, right?
Yeah.
Jaffiel, buddy, Jaffiel. Zach, you're going to be out of town for a little bit, and I won't be podcasting with you for a couple weeks. So,
well, we do have an 80s Kids Unite coming up that you'll find out on that episode what happened to Corey.
Yep.
But we recorded that with Diallo and myself and Grace. Grace has been on a previous episode of 80s Kids Unite, and she is a consistent co-host on $2 late fee. So that's upcoming, and the podcast machine keeps moving forward. There's tons of great stuff on everywhere. Just listen to our stuff.
It keeps moving forward even when you're out of the country for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, and listen to other people's stuff too that you like.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
Nippon.
Real quick, we got
Oh yeah.
I got a new TV Obscura
just showed his
t-shirt.
boobs off.
I just got it, so I wanted to test the where the placement of it and everything.
Very
like that.
cool.
It's
we have a new
it's,
TV.
it's a prime nipple placement.
Oh yeah, it's right on.
Between
Right on
the
the old
two
nipples.
nipples.
So we have a new t-shirt, TV Obscura t-shirt. It's patterned after the Photon logo design. So you can go pick that up on our merch store, which is TeePublic, but you can get there you can get the link through our website. So just go to podcastingafterdark.com. That's podcastingafterdark.com and click on the merch tab, and you can see all of them, and you can just click on the links right to our TeePublic store. So it's a good way to help out the show. Also leave us a 5-star review if you can, and just share the share episode with a friend. Maybe not this episode, maybe another one, but it still was a blast talking to you guys. Sorry I had to postpone this I had to postpone the pain, Diallo, for 2 days.
Dude, yeah, I
You're just like, I just wanted to get it over with.
Yeah, I know. I've been there, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's been like a decade. My back just goes out periodically, and sometimes it's a few days, sometimes it's a week. It's been a couple weeks sometimes, and you're useless. You can't do anything. You don't realize how much you need your back. You can't sit, you can't stand, you can't lay down. Yeah, it's like, yeah. So I sympathize with you mightily. If I was closer, like I would give you all the devices I use to help me be okay.
Well, I ordered the one you suggested, so it should be here in a day or so. Which I'm sure right when my back feels better, but
Right.
it'll be good to have it here.
Yeah,
So.
We'll talk offline. Yeah, there's a lot of it is like, now that you've had it, a lot of it is maintenance after it's the stretching and stuff like that to prevent it from happening. So
Yeah, which I never want it to happen again.
yeah.
And I never went to watch GoBots and Battle for the Rock Lords.
Which was
ever
worse?
again.
Worse.
It was close. It was a tight race. It was a tight race. All right, guys. Thank you all for listening. We love you all. And as always,
Catch you on the obscure side.
Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Support Podcasting After Dark on Patreon. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Podcasting After Dark. And visit us next time for another installment of Podcasting After Dark with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.
Hey everybody, I'm Tim,
And I'm Dean.
and we're the hosts of Talking Back. We're a retro-based podcast covering movies, comics, video games, and more.
Check us out every Monday where we hit the rewind button and dig into some of our favorite content from the past. We like to keep things fun, lighthearted, and informative.
Do you feel like you need more nostalgia in your life? Then check out Talking Back. We're available everywhere podcasts are found.